Okay.
No,
Okay, hush, hush.
thank you.
Lots to talk about. Now, I want to talk about the film that we've just seen, and then perhaps we can step back a little bit. And I have a sense that we're going to be slightly rattling through some of your earlier work, and I think probably we're going to get to Julianne Moore Part 1, and then you'll just have to come back for Julianne Moore Part 2. So be prepared. Yeah.
Okay.
So let's start with Single Man.
Sure.
Really an extraordinary film. I can't actually think of anything I didn't love about this
That's
film.
nice.
And aside of the extraordinary performances, there is a really big factor in the film which is so important, which is the look and the feel
Right.
of a film like that. And when you're reading a script as an actress, how much of a sense do you get about the look or the flavour, which is so important to the finished product?
Well, I mean, visually, it's interesting because you think, oh, okay, you know, that's going to be in the script, but it isn't. Except when you're working with somebody who's going to be a visual stylist, like someone like Tom Ford or Todd Haynes, you know that that's going to be a huge element. But you actually, I mean, my feeling is if you don't see it in the language, you're not going to see it anywhere else. And in the case of this script, it was all very present. You know, the relationships were there, the character was there, the attitudes were there. So it didn't surprise me that it was so visually detailed when I started working on it.
And did you keep to just the script for your inspiration, or did you go back to the issue with novel?
No, we actually stuck with the script. I mean, because Tom had been working with the novel and he had changed things considerably. You know, in the novel, my character is not glamorous at all. And Tom was kind of paying tribute to his grandmother, which was great. He was really specific. Yeah, he had a very glamorous grandmother. And she lived in Santa Fe, and we were kind of trying on, when I went for my first costume fitting, he was very specific of the dress. He had made some things, and Ariane Phillips had pulled some things, and suddenly they whipped out this one dress and put it on, and I put it on, they're like, that's the dress. And the dress had come from a vintage store in Santa Fe, where his grandmother lived. So he got very emotional and said, I can't believe the dress we're gonna wear was like, you know, that he found it in his grandmother's town. But she, you know, had beautiful hair and makeup and jewelry and was fun, and, you know, so a lot of that came from Tom.
I was at a Q&A the other day with him where he talked a lot about the controlled element of the film, and he actually said it's because he was a Virgo.
Yeah, he's very meticulous.
Well,
yeah.
Does that mean, if he is so kind of controlled as a director, did that allow you to kind of go your own way and you know, feel your way into the part, or was he very strict?
No, absolutely it does. I mean, I always say I really like structure. You know, people were under this misunderstanding that somebody like Robert Altman was somebody who was all just like a free-for-all, and this was a man who knew exactly what he was doing every moment of every shoot. You know, he knew what the shots were. He knew what he wanted to. He knew what he wanted to achieve. You know, in some of those long, you know, those grand masters and stuff. And you had basically what you had is freedom within form. You know, so if a director kind of, I always say, provides like a corral for you to work in, you can kind of go anywhere. You know, and often they'll do even what Tom did, which was like, now you put on the record and you dance across the floor. And I was like, what? You know, and he's like, just dance. And then you end up going like, okay, because you kind of, you know, you have to get from A to B, and you're going to dance on your way there. So you figure it out, but you have that kind of structure, you know.
And what made you trust him in the first place? Because I mean, I know he has a huge other career, but
Right.
This is his debut as a filmmaker.
It's I've had a history of working with a lot of first-time directors. It's nothing that's ever inhibited me, and I think that if you're able to, if you can, like I said, if you can see it on the page, often the directors I've worked with have written their own scripts, and if it's there on the page and you can talk to me about it, you can tell me what you're visualizing, then I'm going to trust you. And I've been, for the most part, really successful that way, and Tom was no exception. I mean, he had adapted the story, and he was very specific about what he wanted to say.
And were you confident throughout? You know, sort of day one when he's faced with his first crew and with you and.
Yeah, he really knew what he was doing. He was very, you know, once again, he had storyboarded everything. I would say I like to know what the shots are going to be. I mean, you know, hopefully not in an irritating way, you know, but I just say to a director, like, what are you shooting? Like, where are you starting? And are you starting wide? And then how many shots are you going to go here? And, you know, how tight do you get? I just want to know, because I want to know. It's like in film, there's a proscenium that shifts all the time, and that's what the camera's doing, so I want to know where it is. And Tom was able to tell me, you know, he knew what he wanted to achieve.
And And one of the other things I loved about the film is your English accent. Actually, I chose that clip specifically because it ends on like you saying something like, "Oh, let's go to dinner."
That's right. Because I worked so very hard.
Is it problematic for an actress to have to kind of stay, you know, to stick to that accent, or do you just get into it?
No, but what is important, and what's important with language, is placement and character, and I mean, particularly in Britain, as everyone knows, you know, how you speak is an indicator of who you are or how you want to present yourself to the world. I mean, obviously, it's the same way in the United States too. But you know, there's a particular kind of woman, and it was kind of evident that she was that. You know, she's been a wealthy party girl, kind of, you know, so, you know, can't be bothered basically pronouncing anything because she's so rich. That's right, and she's having so much fun all the time. So I know her. I've seen her. I know. And she's always a little drunk. Is she drunk, or is it just morning? I don't know. And I ran into somebody. My friend Steven and I ran into somebody at Claridge's, and I said, yeah. I said, we kind of know that woman. She goes, are you kidding? I live next door to her. So, you know, yeah. So you want to be specific. I mean, that's actually one of really the most fun things about being an actor is trying to pin that down, because you want to sit in the audience and go, I know her. I've seen him. Oh yeah, that. You know, or I'm like that.
Did you base her on anyone specific?
A couple people. Yeah. Yeah.
As you said, working with Tom was obviously a new experience, but it does follow your pattern, which is picking out kind of young, inexperienced directors. And
he's the same age as me. Come on.
And trusting them with material that's you know could go either way. And you've done that with a couple of people specifically. I want to talk about Todd Haynes in a minute, but let's start with Paul Thomas Anderson.
Sure.
You worked with him the first time on Boogie Nights. Hugely controversial at the time because really it's a film about sex and drugs. Did you?
I don't think that's what it's about. You know, I think it's about wanting to be a star. You know, that's what it's about. It's about wanting to be important, coming from nowhere and trying to achieve something. Unfortunately, you know, that where all these people are trying to achieve something is in the world of pornography, which is kind of dark. But that's what the misnomer was. I can remember when I said that I would do the movie, everybody was like, oh, you can't do a movie about porn. Please don't do a movie about porn. And I'm like, it's not what it's about. And the script was exquisite. It was really great.
What made you trust Paul? Because he had literally, I mean, he'd had maybe one credit before that. But
it was the script. You know, I met him at a party. I was like around Christmas time, and I was with somebody who said, I want you to meet this guy. And he's written a movie, and he wrote this part with you in mind. And I came over and I said, hey, you know, I'm going to read it. And I've told the story before, and he was like, you're going to be in my movie, man. and I said, I'll read it, you know, and I read it, and it was just incredible. And I called him up and I said, yeah, I'm going to be in your movie, you know. So it was something that I'd never really seen on the page before, and it was indelible, you know. I mean, it was clear to me that he had a real vision for it.
Okay, well, just as a reminder, we're going to see you as the fantastic maternal porn star Amber Wade.
Oh, okay.
Very, very, very short clips.